Yoseo, all my beautiful people, and welcome to I Grew Up a Griswold, or at least that's what I tell myself. My name is Tracy Lee, and I hope you're all having a wonderful day. And I hope that everyone is dealing with their own secrets and skeletons in the closet and trauma and what have you in your own little way. And I hope that anyone who's ever suffered through any type of abuse, mental, physical, sexual, what have you, that you are getting some help, or you do know that there is help out there, and that that people care about you, even strangers. And I hope that you know that you don't have to bottle it all up like I have done my entire life, as my title states, that I grew up a Griswold, because that is, again, how I created my little bubble. So we've had a few episodes so far, and we are now to a point in my life where my mom married as we got to Alabama, and she married a man who we never called him by his name. We never called him anything but Mr. and then his first name. So that's kind of what we called him. We called him Mr. And we'll just call him Mr. X is what we'll call him. So Mr. X was my stepdad, and Mr. X, according to my mom to this day, they never consummated their marriage. They were married from the time I was, I would say, 13 years old, because my parents divorced at 12. I went to high school, junior high school in Piedmont, Alabama, from 7th to 8th grade. And then by the time I was in 8th grade, I was in a whole nother school. And my mom was marrying Mr. X. And Mr. X and my mom got married. I remember going to his house when they were kind of dating each other. And his house was a really tiny house. It was just him and his son. He did have a son, a little older than I was. And his house was really gross. I just remember that. It wasn't much better than our house in Piedmont, but it was better. And then my mom and Mr. X bought a new house, and it was humongous. It was a big, beautiful house, and we called it the Rock House. I remember we called it the Rock House because half the house was underground, and it was gigantic. It had 2 master suites. It had a den, it had a living room. And just so you know, when I was growing up, this is how I grew up. My family had what was called a living room and a den. And then the living room, you never sat in the living room. That was for looks. And the den is where you could sit and watch TV and play games and, that kind of stuff. But you never sat in the living room. That room was for holidays. So I've never been in a house where people had one room that was the living room that you did everything in. So I've never, I wasn't raised that way. So Mr. X and my mom ended up getting married, and I don't even remember a wedding, actually. So I just know, that we went from our little tiny 4-room house in Piedmont to Anniston, Alabama, which, okay, y'all, if you don't know what Anniston, Alabama is like, it is not a whole lot better than Piedmont. It's just a little bigger. And we moved to Anniston, and we got a much bigger house. My mama has always been very crafty, she's a was always a great cook. She homemade everything. She used to be such a good baker, from scratch. Nothing out of the box, y'all. My mom catered to Mr. X. She did everything. Like, she worked all day, and then she would have dinner ready for him. My mom did all the things for him. For us now, however, now we would get, dinner too, but as far as the kids were concerned, we didn't get the, I guess you could say let's just say this. Okay. Mr. X got the Breyers vanilla bean ice cream, whereas we got, do you remember the ice cream that came in I don't even know if they still make it in this way, but the ice cream that came in the square box, and you opened it up on one end and you had to dig it out with an ice cream scoop. We got the Neapolitan. That's what we got in the box. And we were only in the store brand. We weren't allowed to have anything else. My mama always bought us the store brand stuff, and he got glass bottle milk and we got carton milk. So we weren't allowed to have his stuff. And we got, and just let me tell you this. I'm a bad Asian, y'all, because I don't eat seafood. I don't eat any of that. But my mama used to make us eat salmon patties out of a can, and potted meat, hamburger helpers, that kind of stuff, but not Mr. X. Mr. X got like homemade everything. So I remember that. I also remember, Mr. X being very, attentive, to my sister and I. And when my sister was here to visit last week, she was telling me some stories. And this is what brought all of this on, this podcast, this conversation, this drudging up of things that I've had suppressed for quite some time. Because I remember by the time we moved in with Mr. X, I was 13. My sister was 7. She's, she was 7. So she was a little younger, obviously. So I was older. So Mr. X wasn't, pestering my sister at that time. So this is where my memories get fuzzy, I guess you could say, or where I have them filed away, because I don't remember things the way my sister did by the time she was of age as clearly as she does, because I have minimized my memories to the point that I do remember the whistling. I do remember the comments coming out of the bathroom after taking a shower. I do remember, whenever I would wear shorts. I do remember, I remember the inappropriate comments. I remember things that were said, comments that were made. I remember one time my sister and I, when we were a little closer in age, she was probably about 13 and I was now like older teenage years, and we were both getting ready in the bathroom one time, and I remember Mr. X walking by the bathroom. We were putting makeup on, and he was making comments about, and he would do his whistle. And I mean, he whistled so much. He did the woo woo whistle so much that we had birds that would whistle like that. That's how much he did the whistle to us. So I do remember that. I, 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 my sister's memories are a lot more in depth than mine when it comes to that. But I will tell you that we had an incident happen when I was much older that was pretty traumatic. And it was after my parents were divorced, but it did involve the law. And I involved my stepbrother, and he ended up going to prison. And it was for, I will just say that he is a registered sex offender now. And I will say that this just to put out how messed up my mind is or was, or however you want to call it, how mentally I thought that this was normal, I guess you could say, for lack of a better term, or how I thought that this is just how it was. Because I will just say this, I never in a million years believed that my stepbrother was rightfully accused. Okay? Because I did not believe it. But what I did believe was that my stepfather, because I knew the kind of person he was. I remember going to his house and taking all of his computers and all of his hard drives and everything and destroying them all, because I knew that if the FBI or the police or whatever were to come and seize his things, that he would be in some serious trouble, because I knew what kind of person he was. And to me, that was normal. So when my sister is here telling me the things she's telling me that happened to her, I hate to use the word triggered, because I feel like that word is overused, but it did jolt me, and it did definitely make me realize that things did happen, but I have things so boxed up and so filed away that I really have made it so minimal that it was normal. And that is not normal. It is not at all normal. And even to this day, which is crazy, I have not seen my stepdad in several years, but even when I would go to his house now, like even going to his house now, he still makes comments. Like he doesn't talk to me like a stepdaughter. He never has, like ever. He's always talked to me like an object. And it's been always very off-putting, but I just kind of have always just kind of laughed it off. I've never stood up for myself and never said anything to stop it, because I've always felt like it's my fault, like it's partially something I've done, or I've put myself in that situation, or if I didn't go see him, or he's just an old man, or, whatever excuse I've given myself, that's what I've done. And it's just, you know, that's what I've done. That's where I have put myself. And during this time that, you know, my mom was married to Mr. X, I was trying to find out who I was because, you know, now at this time I'm a teenager. I'm finding out that I'm not white, you know. I'm finding out that, oh my gosh, you know, I'm finding out that, all these years I've been taught to be, afraid of Black people. I'm being raised, and told, you know, you don't talk to Black people, you don't hang out with Black people, you don't date Black people, or you'll be disowned. Now in all of this, I will say, you know, my best friends in high school at the time, was a Black guy and, another guy. They were my two best friends. And the Black guy happened to play football for the high school. And I used to wear his jersey every weekend. And we used to share a locker. And I do recall him getting called into the principal's office and being told that he better stay away from that white girl, which was so ironic because I was getting picked on as being different, right? You know, so it was very ironic. But Tony wouldn't stop being my friend, and I wouldn't stop being Tony's friend. But Tony lost, I feel like he was a very good football player. And I feel like he lost out on some opportunities because, he wouldn't stop being my friend. So I, think that he was told a lot that he wouldn't be allowed to play football on game night, that he wouldn't be allowed to have recruiters see him. So it was really bad. You know, this was in the late 80s, early 90s, you know, so, but, this is a time when I'm like trying to find myself. I'm 14 years old about this time because, you know, my mom is married, Mr. X. I'm 13. I realize there's somewhere, obviously, I have realized there's something wrong with this situation. I don't know. I can't exactly explain other than what I have minimized these issues to be with the catcalling and the whistling and the, you know, inappropriate comments. But I have found my dad and I have decided I want to reunite with my dad and try to build a relationship back with him. And that is what I do. And I go to Indianapolis, Indiana, and try to live with my dad. Now, this is a culture shock as well, because now, again, I'm coming from Alabama, where I have been told to be afraid of Black people and to stay away from Black people. And I literally do an entire, like, turnaround because I go from an all white, well, where it's mostly white and the Black kids stay on the second floor of the high school and they hang around with just Black kids and the white kids hang around with just white kids and the football team. Now that's different because the football team hangs out with the football team, whatever. But where I moved to in Indianapolis, I go to Arlington High School. Arlington High School is basically all Black. It's the first time I've ever been to a school that had metal detectors, police officers, security officers, all of those things. I've never seen anything like this in my life. And I live in a very dangerous area. Never been to a place like this in my life. And I, was in love with dance. I love to dance. And there was a talent show. Now, keep in mind, this is still my dad. This man has not changed. So I enter the talent show and I'm very excited. And my dad's girlfriend, who I really liked a lot, she took me shopping for my outfit for the talent show. And this, keep in mind, this is the 80s. I can't wait. I'm going to be doing Whitney Houston, and I'm going to be dancing to Whitney Houston. And I get this tutu, these leggings, these sparkly leggings, and the sparkly gloves, and all of this stuff. And it's the how will I know? How will I know if he's thinking of me? Yeah, so I'm can't wait. I'm so excited. And my dad sees the outfit that his girlfriend bought me the day of the talent show. And of course, now remember, like I said, my dad does not agree with makeup. He doesn't agree with short skirts. He doesn't agree with girls doing any of these kind of things, dancing, music, any of this stuff. My dad saw this outfit and he lost his mind and beat the ever living crap out of me. And I did not get to go to the talent show. Now, I made the talent show legit in an all black school. Now, these black girls were impressed. They were like, this girl can dance. And I was like, heck yeah, I can dance. So I was so excited. But no, I did not make the talent show because I was so beat black and blue I couldn't go. And I was so upset and so heartbroken. And my dad's girlfriend was like, what in the heck? So she broke up with my dad. But before that happened, even after that happened, okay, so after I hadn't gone to school for a few days, I finally went back to school. And what's crazy is I had made some friends in this little complex that we lived in. And I thought this boy was my friend, this kid that I rode the school bus with every day. We used to listen to music on the Walkman together. And we were all a group of little friends. It was more than just him and I. There was a couple of people that we were all friends. And he followed me to my apartment one day. And in the hallway of our apartments, there was stairs that you went into a door, and there was still stairs that went down and stairs that went up. And there were 4 apartments in this little building. And he followed me into the building, and I was like, okay. He didn't live in that building, but he just followed me in. And in the hallway, he assaulted me. And now I'm from Alabama, right? I have on my Auburn t-shirts. It was my favorite Auburn t-shirt and a pair of jeans. And it's cold in Indianapolis, so I have a jacket on. I can't remember what kind of jacket I had on, but I had on my favorite Auburn t-shirt, my favorite jeans, and I remember him assaulting me in that hallway. And I remember I had to go. Someone heard it happening in the apartments, and they opened the door and he ran away. And I ran into my apartment, and I was terrified, and I was embarrassed. And I immediately took a shower, which of course, I'm 15. I was upset. I took a shower. I threw away my clothes because I never wanted to look at those clothes again. It was my favorite Auburn shirt. I just remember it being my favorite Auburn shirt. It's so crazy how the things that stand out, But when my dad found out, and now it's so crazy because it was okay for my dad to hurt me, but not anyone else. But when my dad found out and his girlfriend found out, I had to report it to the school. Because that was the only way we could identify for sure. So we go to the school, we go to the principal, and the principal says, point him out in the yearbook. And I pointed him out in the yearbook, and they were shocked. They were shocked. Literally, the black principal, right, of the school, she says, "Oh my gosh, he's white. He's a white kid." They couldn't believe it because people were getting raped in the hallways at my school. I mean, this was like an ongoing thing. So we go to court, and they told me I'd never have to see him in court. Nothing, wouldn't have to see him, nothing. Well, there he was in the waiting room in the courthouse, his parents, and it was really, it was very traumatic for me. I had to switch schools. I did. I had to switch schools. I had to change from Arlington High School and go to Broad Ripple, which was a way better school, by the way. But I had to ride 3 different public transportation buses. I had to get up 3 hours early for school every day, ride 3 different public transportation buses to get to a school bus to take me to Broad Ripple. I joined ROTC. I thrived at Broad Ripple. But then my dad and his girlfriend broke up, and my dad moved into the apartment complex behind her, and so that I could still continue to go to Broad Ripple, which was still way out of our school zone. And I still had to ride 3 different city buses to get to the school bus. Something else like this stands out to me as well, that I remember being in my ROTC uniform, and it was raining and it was cold. And I remember waiting on a bus to come to pick me up. And I remember just being, this is so stupid. I remember standing waiting for the bus, and someone drove by, and there was a puddle by the sidewalk, and they just splashed my entire ROTC uniform soaking wet. But anyway, I still made it soaking wet to ROTC inspection. But I remember my dad and I lived in the apartments behind his ex-girlfriend, and I just woke up one day. We didn't have any furniture. We didn't have anything. I just had my few clothes, and he had his few clothes. But I remember one day I woke up, it was really cold, which is what woke me up. It was freezing. And there was no water. There was no power. And there was a large pizza in the kitchen and the empty apartment, and he was gone. Gone. I don't know where he went. And I was terrified. And I went to knock on door. I didn't have a phone. The phone didn't work. Nothing worked. I had no way of reaching out to anyone. This is in the 80s. So I didn't have a way to reach out to anyone. I started going door to door to ask for help, to see if anyone would let me use their phone. I remember going to a door, knocking on the door, and this man, this black man opens the door, and he's just got his robe on, and it's fully open, and he's not got anything on underneath, and I was frozen in place. And he was like inviting me in, and I was literally frozen. I didn't know what to do. That was something. That's a lot. That's a lot. I think that's a lot for this episode. And things don't get better from here. So that was the last time I saw my dad. I don't know where he went. That was my reconciliation attempt with my father, trying to get away from what my mom was putting us through for her to live a better life. So remember to please get help if you've ever had any assault, mental, physical abuse of any kind. If you've ever tried to find a way to get away in some sort of other world that you have made up, whether it be a Griswold family or whether it be whatever you're doing for yourself, to yourself, just know that there is help out there. And again, don't forget to follow me on Facebook at Tracy Lee, on Instagram at Half and Half 1974, on my YouTube channel at The Alternate Point of View, and on Twitter at Racy0000, and email me at racy0000@gmail.com, and that is with an EY. Kamsahamnida.